Are you tired of people always telling you what you want to hear and not what you need to hear? Me too. Are you ready to actually do something about it? Hi, I'm Loren Lahav, and for the past 30 plus years, I've been blessed to speak and to impact thousands of people around the world. I've shared the stage with the world's top thought leaders, including Barbara Walters, Tony Robbins, Barbara Corcoran, and Gary Vaynerchuk. I'm also a personal development, lifestyle, and business coach, event producer, and entrepreneur with businesses in over 25 countries. I'm a wife and a proud mama to 3 and a bonus mom to 1. Trust me when I tell you, it took me many years of buying into my old story of I'm not enough and lots of grit to finally let go of the BS. So I understand firsthand what it means and what it took. They don't call it the School of Hard Knocks for nothing. This podcast is my way of breaking down the BS filters of what we say, what we do, and how we interact with others. I will be sharing what worked for me, yet more importantly, what didn't work for me. This is a no fluff podcast where we will address real life issues that seem to surface when you least expect it, relationship conflict and breakdowns, and real solutions. I will share from my life experiences and those of other everyday heroes, as well as the world's top experts, are all here to help you grow through the process of letting go and finally expressing your true voice, who you are and what you stand for. In a world of political correctness and living our lives on social media, it's hard to know what is real. And are you taking in so much information but not applying what you've learned? In my life, I always look to the people who understand what I'm going through and are willing to get honest and forthcoming with me to help me grow through these challenges. Trust me, I've had them all, and I'm going to take the time to be as real as possible and get to solutions. I've had financial issues, parenting issues, marriage issues, emotional issues. You know, the list goes on. I've learned from my challenges, I've grown from them, and continue to learn from them. I see them now as opportunities. With this podcast, we're going to tune up our lives. I'll be your cup of espresso to get you through whatever you're going through in your life that's holding you back, to give you that confidence and trust of knowing someone is there to help and guide you, yet you have to do the work. So strap in, hang on tight, and let's get real. Does everything look okay? You always look okay. You are like gorgeous all the time, inside and out.
You're
Welcome
cute.
back. Welcome back, everybody. As you know, I just love bringing on special people in my life, people who I believe make me a better person. And they kick me in the ass and they also hold me accountable, but they also just love on me and believe in me, and I believe in them. So I want to share them with you. And today we have an amazing woman, Vanessa Mills. I do believe that God brought us together for a reason. And I want to just talk about your creativity, your leadership, and your awesome sense of humor. And truly, you make me laugh. You make me smile. You thought you were going into retirement. And then I said, oh, heck no, you're going to be hanging out with me. We got a lot of good to do in the world. So let's first start by, you thought you were getting out of retirement and writing a book and doing all that. But then you thought, oh, I'll just write this book, be free and be free. Talk about
That's
that.
exactly what I thought.
Then we'll talk about what happened, what really happened after that. But yeah, let's talk about what you thought was going to happen.
Well, what I thought was going to happen when I retired, I was in the corporate world for 30 years and loved it, and always had a plan to retire at 50. And it got to be 50, and I really did enjoy it. And there were some changes going on, so I ended up staying a year longer. And so I wrote my book because that was my plan, right? I was going to write a book and release it, and I got my book all written, and I kind of froze. I was like, oh, I can't release it because I was, I was very vulnerable. I wasn't prepared to talk about money and talk about those things. So then I met you, and then you gave me the kick in the butt and said, well, just release it. I was like, yeah, I need to. So I kind of had that mind shift then that was my demarcation point between like the corporate world and all the things I did And now this is my chance to release it and then move forward with what's next. So I released it. I just didn't know what was next.
Well, you know what? I know a lot of people are sitting there and go, how the hell did she even retire at 51? I mean, that's pretty impressive as well. What would be the first three things that you would say to someone who says, I want to be that person who at least has the plan that I can retire at 51? What would you say? I know it's in the book, but
It's real easy. You have your goals, you know what you want to achieve, because if you don't know what you want to achieve, you're not going to do it. It's just so, like I said, I always had a plan to retire at 50, and I had that plan for 15 years and I did it. And then the second thing, be the best person you can be and learn and grow and be a continual learner. And then the third thing, have a side gig, win in the margins. Don't think you're going to do it from your day job. You need to do something extra.
well, that's what I was going to say. You can have big goals, but you actually got off your butt and did something. What were a few of the things that you would tell people that they need to do if they've got a goal, they want to retire at 50? But what would be some of the things that you would say to them to start doing?
Definitely save in your 401, so when you're in the corporate world, you're able to save and they're matching it. So you always take the free money, right? Why would you not take the free money? So I definitely did that. And then find out what your side hustle is. So I tried a few different things. I tried everything from selling piñatas to doing creative memory, scrapbooking parties. And I kind of fell into this real estate gig where I couldn't, when we were younger, when we were first looking for a house, we couldn't afford a house. So we ended up moving into a duplex so we could count the rent from one side and actually afford the loan and things like that. I talk about it in my book. But so I kind of fell into that. And then I realized, well, why don't I just do another rental? So I did rentals on the side of my corporate job. And so every couple of years, I would just buy another one. And I kind of laid it all out on paper. And it was a good one for me because as the economy grows, so does your rent and values and things like that. When I laid out other options for side gigs, the economy could kind of outpace them. So as the economy would grow, my 401k really gets smaller, right? Some of the buying power goes away. Well, your buying power stays when you think about rental income. So I chose rentals and I just started buying, one or two as I went. And
then
I
you
knew I
feel
had
like you have a
something.
Monopoly board. Isn't it fun, right? Like I was like, I never realized why I like Monopoly so much. I'm like, oh, well, I think ours is kind of like, I want one in that state and I want one in that state. And that's it. My husband's going through Wyoming right now. He's driving through Wyoming. He's like, wow, it's really pretty here. He goes, we could get a house here, right? And then he just leaves he went through Utah yesterday and he's like, oh, we really need a house here too. And I'm like, oh my God, this is hilarious. Like we really are, real estate's fun. But anyway.
Real estate is a lot of fun.
Yes. Oops, I think there's somebody, I don't know. Goodbye. I think she's on early. Remove this person. Remove. I don't know who that is. So, okay. That was interesting. I guess getting ready for my manifest event that's happening soon. Anyway, so let's talk a little bit. It's funny, I didn't know that you did that with creative memories. It's very interesting. I was just at my friend Anne, who I told you who we were talking about book writing, and she gave all you guys her course. So you want to write a book. And she was going to be with us in Palm Springs and unfortunately passed away. But at her memorial service where she did creative memories, and there were all these scrapbooks and her sister, and I mean, just I knew she was like me, but not a lot, like not that much. And she kept every note that I wrote her, and I saw them in the scrapbooks. And her sister's like, you can take any one of these scrapbook pages that you want. And it's funny that I was talking about the next stuff I was going to talk about was just that creativity.
Mhm.
There's talk about what inspires you about being creative, whether it's working on our wellness project or working on our, the Stay True Creative Productions. How interesting. You really are. Creativity is in your DNA. Yeah.
It is. It is. So my father and my mom were both very creative and artists at heart. And I went into technology, which you think is really bland and boring. But there's a lot of creativity when you come up with how you should do things or the strategy or what you should design and things like that. So I my primary question, people always ask, what is your primary question? Mine is, how can I make it better? So I'm always looking to see how I can make it better. And when you're creative, you can come up with some really kind of far out ideas. I know people will say, what is she going to come up with next? And I just smile and think, well,
I
what's the
love
worst that
that.
can
Isn't
happen?
that interesting? That makes sense. When that guy, we brought that guy on for the TLC call, and he talked about your different whys, and so that's interesting. So your why is how can I make it better, and
Yep.
mine is the whole challenge. I like a challenge because it leads to growth. So that is very, very interesting. Very, very interesting.
So
Well,
I'll come up with the why, and then you can challenge us to get it done.
so talk about all of the cool things that we're doing and what you're most excited about because you like to take them on and you like this kind of juggle of figuring
I
things
do.
out. Is that's what drives you is how to make it better, or is it what's the drive about having a lot of projects? Because I as well like a lot of projects.
I just think it's fun. I was telling you that I went through a big reset because we sold one of our businesses that had some real estate tied to it, and that was taking up some of my time. So when I sold that, I was like, I'm going to go through a big reset. Well, I decided I'm a failure at resets. So I was like, I'm going to take everything off my plate, and I'm only going to be very conscious about putting the things back on that bring me joy and that I enjoy doing. So I go through this big reset process. Took me a few days, and that was the purpose. And I ended up with everything back on, plus a few extra things that I thought of. So it made me realize that I just needed to grow the team a little bit more
Yeah,
and really get serious and focus on doing more things. So what excites me the most is it'd be hard to pick just one. It
yeah.
really would. I still love real estate and I still do that, but do it more as my side gig, just like I always did. I started a property management company that manages all the properties, and I'm the broker, real estate agent that kind of oversees that. And that's great, and I love it, and I have an amazing partner, and she does great as well. But that really is a side gig for me. That's not going to keep me.
More of a ways to the means. No,
Yep, yep. And I love starting new businesses. So as you know, you and I are
we
starting
do.
two. Yeah. You and I are starting two together right now. So the production agency is great. We've been working on that for what, about 6 months, really hard 6 months, and probably talking about it for almost a year. And that's been going well, and we're starting to get a lot of clients and putting everybody's great experience to action and building an amazing team. So that's great. And the wellness center, we're going to be starting with the membership. So we're hopefully testing, keep fingers crossed, on Monday, the new website, and hope to have that rolled out by the beginning of the year. So it'll kind of start small and kind of build that community and that base. So
Yeah, like you said, like it's juggling a lot, but it's also but we've learned a lot and we're still learning a lot. And I think that what keeps you going, like sometimes when it's just like, oh my God, like when you don't feel like it, when it feels like maybe you're going off track on any project, what makes you keep going?
I'm a planning geek. So if I feel like I'm not on track, it's probably because I'm become lax in my plan. And I need to just sit down and refocus and prioritize what I'm working on and what are the important things and who's doing what. And if I can get organized in my head, then the
Yeah,
rest is just you tackle one thing at a time and you just move forward.
I
So,
love that. One
yeah.
thing at a time. Well, it's funny, like you said, like I'm looking at my desk. I just got back, from Arizona and dealing with a lot of different things right now. And I was like, oh gosh, if I could just get my desk cleaned off. And then, like you said, it all just comes right back on. And then just more things on the desk. And then, but it feels good too, right? Because
It
it
does.
sometimes, I don't know about you, a clean desk sometimes to me feels like really boring because it means I don't have a lot of going on. I don't know. The chaos is kind of fun, but I know
Yeah.
some people are like, some people probably aren't breathing, but right now when I talk about but what's been one of the funniest moments you've had this year taking on these projects?
Well, I'll tell a story about my good friend Lauren here, who, so I'm working hard and I'm doing this and I'll get a little message and she'll be like, "Are you enjoying retirement?" Half hour later, "Are you having fun yet?" Yes, yes. So
Yeah,
I think what I enjoy most is working with the people I like, honestly. I would not work with people that I don't like and enjoy. As my retirement gift to myself, I'm just never going to work with another asshole.
yeah.
There's absolutely no reason I don't need that as a business partner. I don't need it as a client. I don't need it as a vendor. There's plenty of people who know how to do things in this world, and I'm just not going to do it.
I
So.
love that. I might title this one, I'm not going to work with an asshole. Might title that. But that's true, right? Like what made you set that non-negotiable, like you said?
Well, in the corporate world, you don't really have a choice who you work with. And I was blessed. I really enjoyed 99% of everybody I ever worked with in the corporate world. And um, I don't regret being there at all. But there were always, that those couple people around that you just have to put up with. And I'm just not going to do it.
I love
I
that.
don't need it. There's enough things to keep me
I
entertained and
agree.
enjoy.
I agree. So, you were truly, I would say, badass in action. But we all know that badasses have moments as well where they wing it. When's a time when you pulled something off amazing last minute, but you made it look effortless?
Oh, I don't know. Um, See, I'm
Even as
probably
a
the worst
planner.
person to ask that because I just put my head down and do things. Um, I know people ask me all the time, like, how did you do that, right? Whether it's retiring at 50 or whether it's putting together a trip that, dozen of us went on or something, and they'll be like, how'd you do that? I'm like, I don't know. You're organized and you put things together. So I don't I don't think make things look effortless, but other people tell me I do. So
Yes,
I
you
don't know
do. You
exactly.
totally do. You totally do. You totally do. Sorry. Da, da, da.
Well, thank you.
You
I know
totally
somebody told me once that when you do your job well, other people, it just looks easy to other people.
yes.
So that just means that I'm doing my job well. So thank you.
Right. And it's like you said, like when you can just like just put your head down and hunker down. As I say, I put on my goggles and I get laser focused and just go for that.
Hmm.
You're such a huge part of just the fun factor of everything that you do. Um, what's a moment of any team? It could be like our State True Creative Productions. It could be, with the wellness. It could be like any of the other careers that you or projects that you have. When's a time when you totally made the team crack up?
Um, okay. So when I was working in the corporate world, I took a 3-week trip. So I took a 3-week trip and I came back and, I'm getting ready for work and I'm just kind of hanging out at the house. Well, got my days wrong on when I was supposed to come back to work. So I actually came back to work 2 days late. And I never told anybody because I didn't know, like I really thought I was still on vacation. So I come into work and they're like, where you been? I'm like, oh, I went on that trip. And they're like, well, you were supposed to be here 2 days ago. I'm like, no. So I went and looked, sure enough, that's when I was supposed to be back. So they had that year we did a fundraiser and you could put people in jail as a fundraiser and then that person would have to raise money to get out of jail. It was this little mock-up jail they had downstairs and so they put me in jail for not coming back.
Oh my gosh. And who got you out of jail?
I don't even remember, but I remember as people would pass by because they kind of come by and heckle you and be like, come on, $10, $10 to me so that I can get out of jail.
This makes so much sense. Oh, now I get it. Now I totally get it. I
Uh,
totally get it. So what would you say to somebody who might feel like that it's too late to get started for them? Maybe they're in their 40s or 50s or maybe even headed into their 60s and they're like, I really want to be free, but what can I do? What can I do? What's the first step I can do so I don't feel like a total failure?
well, it's never too late. It's never too late to do anything, honestly. And if you're thinking about financial freedom, I mean, all it takes is a few rentals. I know a gentleman who owns 5 rentals and he's like, I don't want any more. He said, five's good. He lives off of his 5. That's what he has, budgeted for. And he's very happy with that. So you don't need 100 rentals, and I'm just using that because that's the example that I personally use. But it's all about having a plan and just executing on it and not letting that fear of failure getting in your way.
Yeah.
Just don't even think about it.
Yeah, it's funny, like, and then like you said, like learning those little things, like and just learning from people because there's so many wonderful people to learn from. And I remember when I went through the recession and like I used up everything in my account, but I was able to start again, right? Like start with $100, start putting, then increase it to $200, then start doing more, and then you start seeing like your IRA grow or start
Mhm.
doing all of those little simple things for yourself. And yeah, and then 5, 10, 15 years later, but you got to get
Yeah.
started. Like you said, you got to get started. Well,
Yeah.
I adore you. What's one thing that you do to stay true to yourself every day?
Every day. Um, I'm grateful every day. So every day at some point, for sure in the morning when I wake up, and for sure, while I'm laying in bed, right before I fall asleep, I think of the things I'm very grateful for. And then typically throughout the day, sometime I'll just be like, oh, I'm really grateful for, you and for your group and, just different things, whatever happens that day. So I think you have to remind yourself that you can always strive for the future, but you have to live in the present and you have to be happy with living in your current situation.
I love it. Well, I adore you, and it's an honor. I'm excited for the future. 2025 and beyond are going to
Yay.
rock it even more. How can people find out about you, or how can they get your book or hear about everything that you're doing?
My book is on Amazon, so feel free to go on Amazon. It's called Be Free by Vanessa Mills. And yeah, I also have a website, vanessa-mills.com. And you could reach out to me through the website or read my book.
Awesome. Well,
Leave
thanks.
me a good
Okay.
review.
We'll leave you a good review. All right. All right. Have a great one. Bye.
Thank
How awesome was today? Make sure you subscribe to the podcast and invite your friends to join as well. I'm here for you with fabulous content, great guests, and lots of giveaways. To learn more of how I have taken what I've learned, applied it to my life, helped others find their true voice, text TRUE to 26786, which will give you my top tune-ups and a complimentary 15-minute discovery call with one of our coaches. And remember, keep in touch with me on Instagram at I am Loren Lahav, Facebook Loren Lahav Official, Clubhouse Loren Lahav. Make sure you text TRUE, TRUE, to 26786. Text TRUE, TRUE, to 26786. And remember to always stay true to the amazing person you are.